You wrote a very good thing in your autobiography, which was that you said that one of the difficulties about getting over grief is actually not feeling guilty about being happy about, on your own. And I thought it was a remarkable sentence, really, when I think about it, because I think people do feel guilty about being happy.
They do, and this
dies.
whole guilt thing is one of the worst things about grief. For a start, you feel guilty about the person dying. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have rung the doctor. And then you feel guilty about all the things you didn't do while they were alive, or every cross word you ever uttered comes back to you like a bad movie playing over and over again.
Crummy, I hope not.
So you've got that guilt, and then the day comes when you wake up and you think, hey, I feel pretty good and the sun's shining and I'm going to work today, and then but I shouldn't be feeling good. I'm supposed to be this grieving widow. And you torture yourself with it. I mean, we make our own grief in the most extraordinary way because we won't allow ourselves. I don't know why it is. I have a sort of feeling that possibly this guilt thing is because if you are remembering the good memories and the happy memories, that's so painful that you tend to block them out. You're not ready yet to look at that. That comes later. And so all this guilt comes sort of seeping in to your brain because you don't have the good things in mind.
But you want to, I think
it's like a poison.
People grieve because they want to sort of almost as if the person who's dead will know that they are showing that they love them, that they miss them. You will show you love somebody if you're happy as well.
That's right. I mean, the dead person isn't sitting on the roof, are they? Saying, don't you? Don't you? Well, one of the most helpful things was that I suddenly realized that, my life seems empty and lonely and all these things, and I suddenly realized that what I had now was freedom. And that was a very, very liberating thought, because I thought, look, you've been given this freedom. You didn't want it, but if you've been given it, why not use it? This is my American family, the three girls, and my husband there. And it's just a really nice place to work because if the house is full of people, I'm right away from them. And you see, I had this window made when they built my desks, because it gives me a bit of this lovely view. I don't feel I'm shutting myself away completely.
Yeah. You've had to face illness on your own. That's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a serious illness, Monica.
Yes, I've had large chunks of me removed. That's probably why I weigh so little. All the heavy bits have been taken out.
Yeah.
Yes, but although I think I was glad in a way that he wasn't around, because why should he go? It's always much worse for the person who isn't ill. And I have my wonderful family. I have my daughters and a lot of other family over here, sisters, nieces, nephews, everybody very close.
Did you think you were going to die?
Yeah, I thought I was dead. It was very interesting. I had a nice, not exactly a near-death experience, but do you want to hear about it?
I would. Don't mind.
I wasn't asleep. I was in this sort of comatose state from being very, very dehydrated. And I started dying, and dying, I realized, is a journey that you make. It was like I'd been packing, got everything ready, and I was starting out on this journey. And Roy was there, my husband, at the other end, and welcomed me quite calmly, as if I'd just been away for a day.
Good Lord.
Been up to Boston for the day. So it's made me very unafraid of dying. I mean, I won't say I can hardly wait, but I do begin to see that it's the next adventure.
You've got to be positive about it, I assume. I haven't got to that point quite.
You haven't got to be anything, Mavis, really.
But
I mean,
people
you
are so
what
negative
you are.
about it, aren't they? Which is why it frightens them.
It's like this terrible denial, in America especially, this denial of death. You know, when people do die, they always have the coffins open at the funerals and the person is all made up. But one of the, when you're young, of course you don't think about death as a reality for you, and you shouldn't. But as you get older, you adjust to every age you're in anyway, don't
Absolutely.
you? which
quite
is
like
marvellous.
that. I think that too.
Yes, it's great, isn't it? You feel perfectly comfortable being whatever age you are because that's you. And as you approach the time of dying, you begin to be very comfortable with death. Well, you better be.
Well, I'm hoping to be. I'm hoping to be. But I mean, did you find that because you were so ill, and you said you had such wonderful support from your children, your daughters, did you actually find it easy to let them look after you? Because mothers are rather inclined to keep the caring to themselves, aren't they?
Yes,
a little
very
bit.
much so.
Yes.
Yes, in a way, it's difficult, but I decided that the best thing I could do for them was to be fairly passive and let them do their helping I didn't want to be one of these interfering, stubborn old ladies who said, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to drink that. No, I just would let them do it, and in that way, I would make myself more helpable. And Pam, the older one, was living here in the country, and she was constantly with me, and we got extremely close, I think, over this. We cut out a lot of the nonsense and got down to basics.
When you look back on your childhood, do you think it's true that as you get older, the very far past is clearer than the yesterday?
Oh, yes, I do that thing that everybody does, going into a room and not knowing what I've gone. Therefore, I don't remember yes, we all do, because in the far past, our input mechanism was better, wasn't it?
That's
and
right.
So the stuff is better stored, whereas tomorrow I won't necessarily be able to remember the details of this conversation that I'm having with you. Yes,
so
it's true. I have such a good life now that I'm not desperately nostalgic. I'm not always living in the past, and I realize you can turn into a terrible bore if you're always talking about the way it was in your day. Equally, if you're always saying it was better in my day, why can't it be like it was in our day? It wasn't so great in our day. People lived in misery and squalor. We were, all of us, even people with a certain amount of money, were freezing cold every winter.
Don't you think that by clinging to the past, or even having that romantic notion that the past was better than now, you are in fact grisly about old age, and that you shouldn't be? I mean, don't you think that that's why
right.
some people grew old quicker than they do now? I mean, I have a fancy somehow.
It's possible. Yes, it's in a way it's denying old age, and it's denying yourself the pleasures of getting old, of which there are many.
Tell
and one
me
of the surprises, five. Well, one is that you keep on making new friends.
Right.
And because subconsciously you realize you haven't got as long, perhaps you make them quicker. I'm always making instant friends nowadays with people of all ages, which is absolutely lovely. Two is that you don't really have to do the things you don't want to do. You finally realize that if you don't go, let's say somebody invites you out to dinner and it sounds as if it's going to be very boring. Well, I used to think, but if I don't go, nobody will love me, and I'll be a failure.
Yeah.
Or they won't read my books.
Yes.
Or now I don't care.
So that is what? Confidence in your own company? Confidence,
yes, perhaps.
And treasuring your time more?
Yes, much more. And not wasting. Not wasting time doing the things that are really unproductive. And allowing yourself, again, I spend a lot of time working now because I have a lot of time on my own to work, but equally I'm more than willing to drop everything and go buzzing up to London to see a play I want to see. Whereas when I was younger, I would have said, no, I can't do that. I must work, this terrible Puritan work thing. Again, if I don't work, I'll be a failure.
But the boys have brought you two together, haven't they? I mean, even at birth they did, because... Didn't they?
We spent a lot of time together. It was really wonderful, and I felt that I went through her whole pregnancy with her and the birth of the children. It was marvellous.
And that was good for you, really,
It was wonderful for me, especially since I hadn't been through being pregnant and
Yes.
giving birth. I was really experiencing it through Pam.
Yeah.
And she, as it were, let me in, which was very nice
That's
of you,
very
you know,
nice,
because
yeah.
I can see that some daughters might want to shut their mothers out and just want it to be them and their husbands. And interfering on me was right in there, probably telling
But
them
that's
what
brilliant to have that. That's a lovely bond, isn't it?
Yes,
it's a
it
real
was.
bond.
It was very,
Um,
very nice.
do you think that was even closer because then you hadn't given birth and this was a way of sharing
Yes,
the
possibly.
birth? I think it's a brilliant.
It was more exciting to me, perhaps, than it is to parents who have experienced it, because it's, apart from jail, as we went into earlier, it's the only experience I never had.
The other thing that has brought you both together wonderfully and horribly perhaps, but is then your mother's illness, Pam.
Yes.
Yes, it did, because Pam was so good. They both were. They were absolutely wonderful to me. And, you know, you wonder what on earth do people do who haven't got children when you really need somebody who you know is on your side. I mean, friends are marvellous, but you can't keep asking friends to drop
in the same
everything
way.
and come. But your children do it automatically, and I think it's a lovely thing that as life goes on, the parents, to an extent, become the children, and the children take over responsibility for the parents.
Well, it's the first. I mean, it was. That's exactly what happened. It was a role reversal here. And
it's a very nice thing. It's a very natural thing, and
well, we've just slipped back into our old roles now.
I hope that there is more than one life. I firmly believe that there is, because there isn't time in this life to do everything you want to do. I desperately want to be a paramedic on an ambulance, but I can't do that now, so I'll have to come back.
Next week, we go to Mexico and look at a celebratory way of dealing with the prospect of death, which for most of us in this country still remains a great taboo. I hope you'll join me next week, and goodbye for now.
And you can see that at the same time, 8:30. And there's a special booklet dealing with many aspects of death and bereavement. For a copy, please send a large stamped addressed envelope to the address below.